Welcome, everyone, to a special event, Revitalizing Our Roots, sharing lived experiences in archaeomythology and citizenry sciences today. With Hayden Mayorga, Chief of Talamanca Bribri Territory, Leili Moreno of the Bribri Finca La Roca, also in Talamanca, Joan Marler of the Institute of Archaeomythology, and María Suárez Toro of the Institute of Citizenry Sciences of the Sea and Ambassadors of the Sea in Talamanca's Caribbean coast. We're really excited. They will be sharing their experiences from the Venlo Matriarchies for the Future that took place in June this year. They shared their lived experiences in revitalizing women's power in our context, territories, and societies, past and present, toward shared horizon among women and men. We're really thrilled to have them join us and share with our community of the Maternal Gift Economy Breaking Through series, hosted by Genevieve Vaughan and the International Feminists for a Gift Economy. Thank you for taking time out of your Saturday to join us. I'm Letitia Layson, your moderator. So let's just begin. Hayden Mayorga will present her lived experiences from Bribri girl to territorial authority, a story of female resistance and leadership between the matriarchal legacy and the challenges of contemporary patriarchy. Leili Moreno will address lived experience in matrilineality in Bribri farming in Finca La Roca. Joan Marler will address lived experiences with María Gambuta's 7 years of archaeomythology in action. María Suárez Toro will address lived experiences in the construction of a maturistic perspective in Ambassadors of the Sea Children's Pedagogy of the Ocean. So please join us in welcoming these amazing, wonderful women. We look forward to hearing what you have to offer. So I hand the mic over to María and Joan, and I'll be back when we're ready to open up for questions. All right, everyone.
Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are in the planet. I don't even know where I am because I just came back a night ago from the 15-day trip to Venlo and around Netherlands and also Paris, together with Hayden Mayorga, with Leili Moreno, with Julian Skonu from Berlin, and with Joan Marler. It was an amazing experience, and we met there with about maybe 10, Jen, from the gift economy, the maternal gift economy movement, and also with 380 other women that gathered for 4 days in Venlo for Matriarchies for the Future, but also traveled to Paris also to meet with Sorrel and Max in Paris, where we were able to visit some of the museums that had been created as colonial museums and have been revamped to become museums that are trying to do some justice. And it was amazing to go to the museums with the 2 Bribri women. That was an experience in itself. To do it with Joan is enough because she's always looking at all of the signals and the signs of what she brings to us from María Gimbutas and her own experience, but also with the Bribri, it was amazing. So I'm very happy about that. And with that, we have a lineup with you that might be different from what has been announced only because there is a tormenta here, and I'm sorry about the Spanish. There's a hurricane here, and Leili has said that she might not be able to connect, but Heidi is here, And then Julian is traveling in England and will try to connect for the second half. But if not, we will try to do justice by each one of us who are going to be talking about what we presented at the Venlo, but also our experience in the conference. And we will try to bring the two of them in case they cannot come. So welcome. And I would like to ask Diane to give me the pass to hopefully I can put a little video, 4-minute video that we did. I want to thank some of the women who I see in the chat here who were in the Venlo meeting and have been coming to the salons and the special sessions that Joan and I have been able to do throughout the last 2 years, because they told me that they really liked the presentations that we did, but that especially the videos let them come to the place almost like they were there. So this is why what we tried to do again with this little video, bring you to the place where we all met with the maternal gift economy movement and with the women from the conference and with our delegation.
Also her work, and sometimes the time is like this, it expands, it contracts, yes, like the heartbeat.
Ja, genau, vielen Dank für diese intensive Auseinandersetzung mit dem Leben von María.
Fortunately, she was able to continue her studies, but it was very, nobody knew how long they could stay in university or how long the university would be open to them, and eventually she finally had to get her master's degree underground. But in the meantime, what she says was that life just twisted me like a little plant, but my work was continuous in one direction. That is so important, because every time there were these horrible situations that were ghastly beyond belief, she stayed focused on her work, because her work led to that place and was drawn up from the earth itself in terms of the vitality that it contained, and she stayed.
Muy buenas tardes, me siento muy contenta de participar, de estar aquí, mostrando también un pedacito de nuestra tierra, de nuestro territorio, de la forma de cómo nosotros vivimos, cómo nosotros también tenemos nuestras estructuras propias de gobernanza, cómo trabajamos nosotras las mujeres y cómo trabajamos la tierra. Es lo que son, es lo que tienen que ser.
Together we'll live in peace. Don't be afraid to follow your heart. Sing it with us. Even more, even more. Let's build a world hand in hand. Together we'll live in peace. Don't be afraid to follow your heart. Sing it with us. Let's build a world.
Weste Yamipa, Guinea de Tenaguay, Caribe, Samike Bete Sawa Sa Suregu Meaí, que nos sentimos muy felices y contentos de estar acá.
We are very happy to be here.
Nos vamos, pero nuestros corazones, nuestros sentimientos también se quedan acá.
We are leaving, but our hearts and our feelings stay here with you also.
Thank you very much.
Hayden,
Hola.
¿puedes poner, you can put your camera on?
Yes.
Yeah. There
Yeah.
you are. Adelante.
Yes, I am ready. But I am going to sharing to talk about my experience. My name is Hayden Cristina Mayorga Escalante. I am indigenous woman of Bribri indigenous woman. My story is also the story of many indigenous women like me, had to walk firmly between ancestral memory and the challenges of the present. So I was born in a tropical community surrounded by great river and mountain, where women have also always been guardian in knowledge, spirituality, and collective life. So we are protector of environment and our mother earth. So I spent my childhood deep in the forest, immersed in languages and a culture with my grandmother and grandfather and my mother and family, but also my limit when I was child and younger. It's not suppose that I can get my dream. So in that case, so I leave my territory and I went to work in capital of Costa Rica. There I study very hard. I work as I don't know how to say as a home work in a house in a family house.
Maid.
Maid, as a maid. For years, I cook and I that kind of job. So I make an effort to study at the same time, and to I get to be a lawyer. Now I am a lawyer, and now I am a president, a chief of the territory of Bribri people. So it's the maximum representation that I get in my life, in a big obligation and responsibility, because I have to work with all the people of the indigenous Bribri, but I have to be in touch with the government and different institutions in Costa Rica. And of course, to be contact with the different other organization. In that case, so my line of the life so is it's not easy because we get different different. So it's, in the life of the women's, indigenous women is not easy because in all the space, so we get discrimination. So, but I think the women is really a power and have a smart. We are smart and we have really not obligation. We teach not only our family in our home. We teach our family, our community, and we give all efforts to work and to get more better work in economic, in a cultural, in a different kind of life in our territory, but in a national country too. Um, in this case, so my experience get to me to go to Benlow, and that I learn and I give also my experience in my territory, how indigenous Bribri live in our territory. So we have um, the second most big territory in Costa Rica, and we have 11 population indigenous in territory Bribri Talamanca, and our most important economic front to in the we work as a farmer is the first kind of job that give us our economic, but there are a lot of other kind of job we make in our territory. So we have a strong traditional, and we also maintain alive our own languages. So when I was in Benlong in the matriarchal festival, matriarchal, so I can to share with you that in our culture, in our traditional culture of in the Bribri culture, the most important is the women because we give the clan. So my clan is Nawak. So and the women give the clan of the child, but is also, and I think is also a similar to talk about the matriarchal because the women is important in a develop of the world of the country. So we indigenous brewery talk about the matrilineal. For that reason, the women is really important in our culture because we transmit the knowledge of the childhood, the younger, and we are as a matriarchal, as a matrilineal women. We are maintain also take care the environment and our earth in our land. So we call Iridia in my language, in my own languages. So when I was in Benlo, where María is told few minutes ago, so I think we learn and we change experience to the different culture to be gathering in that place. For me, it's what's amazing because now I know that how women's indigenous women in Costa Rica are forced to get more better life, more dignity, and to get a space, is a different kind of the space to express, to make a decision. But it's the same, thing happen with women around the world, because I see that, I saw that in that festival in Venlo. So for me it was a big challenge. So it's a long travel, but I get a big experience. But I know when I really sure that that we also give, teach and give our experience, how I live in our own land. Is something different, but half related, how women's support also to get more participation, and to get more visibilization, and to get more to take a decision in a different space, and different in different space to learn, to get more powerful our economy and our culture and our life as a women's, but not just as a women, to maintain, of course, all the people be around us. So the family, the community, and of course the environment, because we believe that all the nature around us have life. It's not inert thing. Has a life, and is also spirituality. So this is my presentation. I feel really sorry because in my as a president, I have to make a different kind of work with the community. So we in indigenous territory, Bribri has have 32 community and different contexts. I would like to sharing with you, but I can get to share the PowerPoint. I don't know if that is my presentation, so I want to thank you everyone, Maria, Joan, Laili, and Julian, and all of you that in this moment are listening to me, and give me these minutes to sharing my history, but I relate my history with the other history to the women's, because all the women have our own history, but we have to know that to grow up all and all day. Thank you very much.
I wanna ask Heidi to do some extension of what she had just said. If you allow me, we have questions and answers afterwards, but I would like her to round up with what she said to all of the women in Venlo at the end that you brought with you and that you left with them. Yo quiero pedirte que hagas un comentario de lo que le planteaste. It was in the video that I was going to present to you and that we promised to upload later. But what you told the congregation of the women in Venlo about what you felt you were taking with you to the Bribri territory and to Costa Rica, and what you felt that you left with them. ¿Te acuerdas? You remember?
Okay, can you please remember me, but in Spanish?
Exacto, correcto. ¿Te acuerdas al final cuando tú te despediste, tú le dijiste qué te llevabas para tu territorio?
Yes,
¿Te llevabas
yes, I
todo?
remember.
¿Y qué le dejabas al conjunto de mujeres que estuvo ahí? Me encantaría que tú se lo comentes al público.
Yes, I thank you, María. Yeah, I told that we have, in that moment, we be here, we live the Venlo, the activity, and we come back to my country, but we live my heart. I told that in Bribri, so I told that's like this. Jetsenaboy Jamipa. Jetsenaboy in Kankibi ke Holanda, Samiache, Saua, Ere Sasureo Mea in Ata. Nos sentimos muy contentas, muy agradecidas. Nos vamos hoy, pero dejamos nuestros corazones en acá.
Gracias. We live today with our hearts full of joy, but we also leave our hearts here and we take you with us. Me gustaría también que tú les cuentes el significado de mano vuelta como el nombre de la experiencia, no la experiencia, la ancestralidad que ustedes traen de lo que nosotros en otros círculos le llamamos la economía maternal del regalo. Que le cuentes un poquito de cómo es eso de la mano vuelta.
¿Podría decirlo en español?
Laili no está aquí y
Sí.
parece que no va a venir a tiempo. Ella iba a hablar de el ritual de mano vuelta que ustedes tienen, de que cuando la gente necesita, se pone así, y cuando la gente tiene para dar, en los contextos de lo que nosotros en otros lugares se le llama economía maternal del regalo, que es la forma de compartir sin transacción económica.
La economía del regalo o las manovueltas, Uramneuk en Bribri, Uramneuk, eso es, efectivamente es una tradición ancestral nuestra. Nosotros desde pequeños crecimos con esa tradición. ¿Y qué significa? Significa que una familia produce X productos, otra familia tiene X productos, pero cuando una familia necesita y no tiene un producto específico, digamos cacao, y la otra familia tiene maíz y tiene el cacao, entonces se hacen un intercambio. Ese intercambio no requiere cash.
Ajá. ¿Me permites ir traduciendo o lo vas a hacer tú después?
Te permito, sí.
Okay. So what she's saying is that they are born from the beginning of their life with what they call mano vuelta, and that it is an ancestral, traditional way in which people are able to share the goods that they produce or what is in nature, and that the way that it is done is, for example, it happens in all aspects of life. And she gave two examples. First of all, they learn since very little that when they have produced in their farms and there are families or people that do not have enough to be able to eat, then you give it away. And also the other example is when, and that was the other example she was going to give now. Ajá, sigue.
Los otros ejemplos, esos ejemplos nosotros lo aprendemos desde pequeño, pero también no solamente es dar, sino dar en trabajo. Vamos a sembrar maíz.
Espérate. And so we learned that, but it's not only about being able to share the gifts that are the products that we produce, but it's also about our work, the work what we can do to contribute to other people that cannot have enough hands to do the work that they need.
Ejemplo, vamos a hacer una milpa, una siembra de maíz. Entonces, una familia dice, vamos a sembrar maíz. Otras familias se unen a apoyar y a sembrar el maíz. Cuando viene la cosecha, se retribuye con la cosecha de maíz.
So I want to give you an example of when we produce corn and we don't have enough hands to be able to all of the production that we have to make. So we support each other with our labor in the community to be able to grow more corn. And there is no economic exchange about the product either, because then the product belongs to all of those who worked, all who needed it. And so it's shared.
Otro ejemplo para aprovechar la oportunidad.
And another example to use this opportunity that you're giving me
es cuando vamos a moler el maíz.
is when we are going to, ¿cómo se llama? Grind the corn.
Necesitamos hacer chicha de maíz. La familia invita a quienes se quieren unir a moler el maíz en una piedra grande.
So the other example is when we're going to do the chicha of corn that we invite, and the corn is not only grounded in machine, it's grounded with a big, huge rock.
En ese trabajo comunitario y colectivo, también se aprende nuestra historia, nuestra memoria.
So in that collective work of grinding the corn, there's also storytelling to be able to make sure that all the people in the community also receive the gift of learning our history.
Tiene que haber una persona mayor que va haciendo, por decirlo de una manera, una plegaria, un canto, para agradecer a la naturaleza lo que nos da a nosotros.
So there's also an elder that does the chanting to thank nature for giving us that gift. Gracias. Thank you. Bien. So with this, Heidi, we're going to have questions, more questions from the public, the second part. So with this, we will go. I want to say something about Layli because she's not here, and give her 10 minutes to come, where I can, together with Heidi, maybe do a little presentation about Layli. Who was Layli? What was she doing there? And what she presented. I would like to say that because Heidi already presented to you who the Bribri are, I want to highlight that Layli, the clan that Layli belongs to, and it's the clans of producers of the land, the agricultural, the farmers of the land. Because it is important that all of us understand that the Bribri have a very strong hold on the matrilineal heritage through the clans. And the clans is passed through the women, but they are also specialized in different activities that the Bribri and the people have to do to be able to live. Layli, I don't know, Heidi, which clan you belong to, but you can say afterwards. But Layli belongs to the clan of agriculture and the farmers of the land. And with that, she has built Finca Loroco in the Bribri territory also, that is a farm that is known throughout Costa Rica and also in internationally as the farm that has the biggest seed bank of the area and perhaps of the country, because they in their cosmovision they believe that the dual god Sibo and Thura created humankind as a seed of corn of different types, and being of the clan of the producers, it is a very special relationship also to the cosmovision. The other thing that Laili presented in her, she did a workshop about her farm that she presented, was the fact that for them as producers, mano vuelta and the gift economy is really critical, because it allows to be able to produce in a way that is always in one way or another collective. I don't think I have to give you the examples, because Hayden already gave you some of the examples about the production, how it is when you produce more than you need, or regardless more because you are going to sell it, but when there is another family that needs it, then it is shared, because it doesn't belong to anybody in particular, but in everybody in the community. Laili has also allowed us who are not Bribri. I live in the coastal community close to the Bribri land. Laili in her farm with her mother, her grandmother who passed away a year and a half ago, and her sister and her sister's daughter, 4 generations of women. She has also exercised and allowed us to participate in Mano Vuelta by inviting men and women from the coastal community and from San Jose and anybody who visits to also do Mano Vuelta with them, to come to the different places where there is a need of hand labor, and to be able to participate with them and then enjoy together the results of the work. And that is the way that politically Laili is also contributing to make sure that we in the rest of the country know the traditions and participate also in relating to the land. So I wanted to highlight, because it's been very important, specifically for me and for the children and the youth of the diving camp that many of you have heard about, and that I will talk about in the citizenship science, to be able to participate directly in understanding the citizenship science of the Bribri by participating in the activities of production, where also the gift economy is shared. Why do I say this? Because they have a circular, complete, holistic approach to the way they do their politics related to the land, to the ancestry, to the culture, and the solidarity and relationships that they create with the rest of the people in our country. Hayden, you want to add anything else to that about Laili?
The clan of Laili is Korkwak. Korkwak is an important clan in our culture. For that reason, Laili, she worked. Well, we call Urameneu. Ella trabaja, perdón, con familias, pero ella trabaja directo la tierra. She works in a land, but it's not just to work in a land, because she protects the seed. The seed, she has as a museum, no sé cómo decir.
No, a seed bank. Se llama seed bank.
She has seed bank.
Banco de semillas.
We had seed bank. That is important for our territory, because when we uh, need to make a job to work in a land. Well, of course, we say, for example, Laili have a seed bank. We have to play where we can
Deposit.
deposit the seed, yes. Creo que, o sea, no creo, el trabajo de Laili es importante también, es colectivo, lo que yo decía anteriormente, se relaciona también con el clan. The work, the job that Laili make is important, is relating with her clan, and is a collective job. Of course, she lived without territory, but I don't mind for that, because we recognize our brother and sister who live in border or without in a territory. For us, the most important is our form of life, our identity.
Let me explain that. What Heidi is explaining is that it happens that Laili's farm is outside of the official territory that has been the territory of the Bribri, and her farm Loroco is just in the border outside of the territory. But she, as the head of the territory, doesn't care that she's outside of the territory formally, because what really connects all of them is the fact of that they are Bribri, and there is a culture and there is a commonality that is historical and that they have to defend. Gracias. Okay, so we will leave the questions for later, write them down, think about them, and we will pass the microphone to Joan. As Heidi said, and Laili asked me to say, both to Joan and also to the maternal gift economy that we all know very well, that we are very happy to have also been able to share it with Joan, because it made it delegation of 3 Costa Ricans, one from the coast, which was me, 2 of the Bribri, but also Joan from California and Julian from Europe. And it made it for a very interesting delegation. And also, before, just in presenting you, Joan, that one of our challenges was, how are we going to do a panel? What is going to be what brings us together in this conference about matriarchy, coming from such different experiences? Remember that discussion? Hayden, remember that discussion, Joan? And we had it with everybody, and we decided that it was going to be lived experience. And everybody was going to talk about the lived experience that we wanted. However, lived experience is not just testimonial. It's not just any experience. It's an epistemological framework about the experiences that each one of us individually and collectively value as experiences that has allowed us to re-signify our lives. And so therefore, the connection between what Joan brought from María Gimbutas and from her own experience, together with the presentation of Hayden and the others, was absolutely all in common. Because Joan did, and I'm sorry to have to say that because she might not say it herself. Joan did, maybe for the first time, I've known her for very little time, but for the first time, she was able to go in depth into the life of María Gimbutas from her childhood throughout all her life, how that informed the epistemology with which María Gimbutas did her work and her contribution. And if you listen to Hayden carefully, that's exactly what she also did. The minute I asked her about Mano Vuelta, she referred it to how she learned it as a kid with her family, and that how it has informed how she has also assumed the political role that she has in our community as the chief of the territory. So it's not any little thing in any of our lives. With that, Joan, please, whatever you're going to talk about of your lived experiences with María Gimbutas, and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I do hope that we will have all of our representatives with us. I hope that Lily will come, but if she doesn't, she's with us in spirit, I'm sure. So first of all, I just want to say that it was really an honor to have the time to be together on this journey. I mean, we'd met, in Costa Rica, but it wasn't the same as being able to have experiences together there in Europe, in Paris, and then at Venlo, and then throughout other locations where we could have experiences together, going to museums together, and speaking about how this has affected us, and so on. And even I was able to have a brief interview with Heide during our stay. And that really, for me, was amazing because she was speaking about how the things that she was, some of the areas that she focused on in her work with the Bribri, and how important it is to continue the language. And that's exactly what María did as well, and all of her extended family, and her lineage was to make sure that the Lithuanian language was not destroyed, because what was contained in it, what was transmitted from it, was so important about the connection with the living world. And the same with Heidi, that the language is a carrier of memory. And that memory is something that if you lose that, then who are you? What is your relationship to each other? What is your relationship to the living world? And it's a loss more than just your death, but it is a kind of death. So during the time we were together, and during the interview, and my ability with other people to hear what their presentations were during the conference, so much was revealed that for me spoke of the connection with the deepest significance of what María Gimbutas was bringing in her work. So I'm very grateful for that. And so I want to say a couple of things about that connection. Because one of the things that I talked about during my presentation was how important it was for María as a child to inherit this sense of lineage, to inherit the experience, not just an idea of lineage or certain specific items of memory, but the whole connection, the deep roots of what makes their lineage significant, and continually reconnects them with their experience and their kinship with the living world, even during enormously difficult times, even during living with one invasion after another, and destruction all around, and warfare and death. And at the same time, though, she was studying, she was continuing to collect material, and this is María Gimbutas as a young person during her time in Lithuania before she had to leave as a refugee. And what she was collecting, and what she had inherited from her family, what she had inherited from her amazing parents, and particularly her amazing mother, and what she had inherited from a very, very important person who she considered her adopted grandfather, Joan Spasanovichus, who was one of the very first people to begin to collect and preserve the folklore of Lithuania. So it's available to people today that carries so much about their relationship, their ancient relationship with the living world. All of that informed her. And not only that, but she spoke to me a number of times about the importance of her what she called her ancestors, the ancient Balts. These people who are named after the Baltic Sea, who basically had continued to move more and more and more into remote areas so that they could maintain their culture, maintain their connection with what they deemed as most significant, which was all aspects of the living world, and who were constantly barraged by Christian missionaries and fighters who were coming to destroy them because they were considered those stupid pagans, basically, those stubborn pagans who would not be Christianized. And so they are the reason that Lithuania is considered the last European country to be finally Christianized. But that being Christianized, María described it as a thin veneer of Christianity over the top of a deep pagan roots. And so María inherited the experience of visiting with people from more remote areas of Lithuania, listening to songs and stories, and being introduced to the experience, the lived experience of the love of the land and the ongoing celebrations and rituals that were connected with that, and the art and the music and the dance and all of it. So that she said to me one time that the horror that she was living through during the war, she said, life just twisted me like a little plant, but my work was continuous in one direction. And one of the things that I mentioned in my presentation was how important it was to see that she represents a model for all of us in terms of how do we keep our focus? How do we keep our sense of continuing our work, but continuing whatever it is that we have chosen to do to maintain that deep connection to what is most significant in this world? And to remember that we are humans who come from the earth. We all come from the earth. We are part of the living world, and not to lose the sense of kinship, not only with each other, but with all of life. And so during the time that she was trying to discover what she was going to do with her life, because she was always told that she absolutely had to, whatever she chose as a discipline, that she had to focus on giving the best of who she was to her culture. And so her father had said, well, I don't think that you should try to be physicians like your mother and I are, because it's not your nature to do that, but to go into the humanities. And her mother gave her a prophecy. Her mother said, whatever you choose to do, your work will prevent people from becoming ill. We are taking care of people after they are already ill, but you will prevent them from becoming ill. And I've thought about that many times. What could that mean? And it's coming to me more and more that if her work inspires people to connect with their own connection as human beings on this planet to all of life and to each other in such a way that we continue to deepen our roots, deepen our ancestral roots, deepen the roots of our knowledge that is deep within us about our connection to life and the regeneration of life, that in itself will keep us from becoming ill. Because without that, we will be ill. the illness is the separation from life and the regeneration of life. And so I see this too in Heidi's work and in Lily's work, that it's that constant regeneration of knowledge, constant regeneration of the cultivation of what has the deepest soul and meaning for everyone. And the closest people, you know, your closest family, but your extended family, and all of life is part of your extended family. And so they, in coming to be with us, I mean, I'm trying not to just start to cry right now, but it was so important, and it continues to be important, profoundly important, to be able to be in their presence and to feel that vitality. I mean, almost like a childlike vitality of joy they bring by discovery and by being able to be in these amazing places we visited, and to connect that with the discovery of all that is to be discovered, that connects with the regeneration of life. So I am grateful to them. I am grateful to everyone who assisted us along the way. And I just wanted to end my presentation and really try not to go over, although if Heidi is not able to join us, we will have a bit more time. But I want to read something that María wrote in the Civilization of the Goddess. She said, "We must focus our collective memory." Actually, she said, "We must refocus our collective memory." The necessity of this has never been greater as we discover that the path of progress, and that's in quotations, is extinguishing the very conditions of life on Earth. And this is something that is happening more and more. And, you know, it's so easy to normalize the loss, to normalize the reality of the loss of so much on this planet that threatens the continuation of the ecosystem that in itself is necessary to continue to give us life and to give life to all the rest of everything that's alive is giving life, and what is dying is giving life by giving up the nutrients stored in certain forms to be nurturing other forms. So the whole thing is constantly happening. But if it is interrupted, which is continually being interrupted in our time, we must not normalize that. And so Maria's work in giving us Old Europe, her definition of that time before warfare, before patriarchy, before so many things that we take as that's just the way things are, or we're supposed to believe that it was always that way. Male domination was always that way, but it wasn't always that way. And we have to know there was a time before all of that. And the connection that we make in deepening our ancestral roots is to feel that in ourselves, and to shift our eyes and to refocus our collective memory, so that what we're doing to give to others and to give to ourselves and to generate in this time is exactly what is needed in order for the regeneration aspect to be amplified. And this is in the work of the Bribris, and is also in Maria's work. And I honor all of them, and want to give whatever I can during whatever's left of my life for that. So thank you, and I will end my presentation.
Thank you so much, Joan. It's really important to be able And we talked about it with Hayden and Laili, and also with Julian, how important it is to reach ever more to an ancestral understanding that is not about going back, but as I say to my community, it's about going deep into who we are, and we have forgotten that we are. It's amazing to me to see Joan crying because I was not able to present my paper in Venlo because I started crying when it was my turn, and I had already heard Joan, and I had already heard Genevieve and Haida and Anya. I can never say her name, but Anya from Netherlands. And also after listening to Hayden and Heidi, it was my turn to talk, and I burst out crying, and I could not talk. So now to see you crying, thank God for that you were almost finished. But I am not going to cry today because I owe it to you to be able to talk about what is my presentation today, which again, I'm going to change a little bit because I brought a paper to Venlo that was about explaining the pedagogy of the waters that we use in the Southern Caribbean of Costa Rica to be able to work with the children from age 3 to age 12 before they can join the scuba diving experience that has led to what many of you who have come today have already known, that in the Southern Caribbean of Costa Rica, in a project that is called Ambassadors of the Sea, in a 9-year effort with the young Afro and mixed Bribri young people of the community, we found wrecks in the bottom of the ocean and began studying them, and have come after 9 years to offer and give to the world and to our community and to our country a part of the history that have been buried under the sea, which is that those 2 ships wrecks that we have found in the Cahuita National Park are slave ships that brought 650 Africans to be enslaved in the Americas, but got lost on their way and to the island of St. Thomas and landed in Costa Rica. And there was a mutiny by the sailors and the Africans. And so the 650 Africans were let loose in the shores of Costa Rica. And they must have looked up from the shore where I live to the mountains where Hayden and Laili live today, and they must have seen that immense forest and must have ran to it because they knew by this time, after 8 months in a slave ship, that they were being brought somewhere not to have a good life, but to be enslaved. And they must have ran there, and they are lost to history, but very much integrated with the Bribri because there is a large Afro and Bribri mixed community whose origins might come from those ships, but also others walked the shores and were recaptured by Spanish colonos and re-enslaved. I created Tonaina, who is a sea light. I created a literary character, ancestral, matriarchal, matrilineal character, to be able to tell the story of those Africans who are lost to the official history, but very much in the DNA and the culture of the Bribri territory, because it is important to know that the Bribri, even by official history, colonial history of Costa Rica, are recognized as the indigenous community that were never conquered by the Spaniards. So I say, or Tonaina, which means sea light in Yoruba. The character that I created, she says, if those Africans recovered their freedom that they had before being captured in Africa to come to be enslaved, if they recovered their freedom, it's because they joined the Bribri, who were fighting for the freedom for them and for everybody around. And this is a historical link that is very, very important to us, because nobody, even if had been let loose in the shores of Costa Rica, could have become free in a country that had a enslaving legacy in that moment. I'm talking about 1710. So in this process, what has happened, and I'm not going to go much deeper into it because you can read about it now that we have made history. It's out in the open and everybody's writing about it. But what I want to tell you, that the strongest thing for me, besides that story that I have just told you about the relationship between the Bribri and the Afro, is the fact that those very Bribri and Afro youth that has been the divers who have uncovered this hidden history in the bottom of the ocean, that in that process, they have discovered their own roots in Africa and their own roots in the Bribri, being in the coastal area and not in the territory. And this is why I'm here, and I'm going to be here until the day I die, working in the enhancing and whatever contribution we can do to enhance the fact that the youth of this community has given us as a gift to the whole history of the slave trade, a new story that is not only the story of the people who came enslaved and recovered their freedom, but of the youth today that is breaking the chains of the technology and the monocultural Western civilization that they learn in their cell phones and that they are pressured to join, but that it has given them the liberation of finding their own roots by doing the study themselves. And this is how I want to tell you the definition of citizenship science, and also talk a little bit about the connection with archaeomythology by María Gimutas, and that we have learned from Joan and all of the people who have enhanced that contribution. Citizenship science is nothing else and nothing more than the way in which, with the youth of the community, we have been able to get international archaeologists in underwater archaeology to come invited by us in the community to teach the science of archaeology, which the kids, I call them kids because I'm old, but I shouldn't, which the youth has combined with the ancestral knowledge that they bring from their grandparents and grandmothers and fisher people of the community about their ocean and about their coastal land, to bring that knowledge together between the science as a form of knowledge that we have to recognize for its contribution, and the enhancement to multiply by millions that it can bring when it is connected with the youth being able to bring to it the ancestral knowledge that they have inherited, knowing it or not, creating the safe conditions that they can develop it. And so to us, it's been very important to recognize that, because it puts science and scientific knowledge in a different place, but it also deconstructs the mono vision of one only way of creating knowledge. We have done that with the younger generation also, and that's what we call the pedagogy of the waters. because the children aged 3 to 12 began complaining in the community that we were teaching their youth to do scuba diving and they cannot do it when they're so young, but they wanted to do it. So we took them to the water. And what I want to highlight about that experience of bringing them to the waters to also learn to dive, in this case, snorkeling, learn to find sunken ships by toys that we put in the water and bringing them to the shore and teach the little children to create hypotheses. We cannot construct new knowledge with any kind of science unless we learn to turn every experience into a hypothesis that challenges what we have been told in school. That's all we do with the kids. Why? It's not that school is bad. They have to stay in school and they have to be doing well in school to stay in the diving center. But they have to know that in school they teach the knowledge that has already been taught by the mainstream, and that there is a knowledge, there's an experience, and there is a subject, a historical subject that has not been able to bring forth our own knowledge. That is women, that is Afros, that is women from all cultures, that is Afro communities, that is indigenous communities, and it's everybody who hasn't been critical about what what do you call it, encyclopedical knowledge that we learn in school, that we have to know, and we have to also know the method of the sciences, but pass it through the sifter, through the colador of the ancestral knowledge that people have built without having a place in the school system or in the system of construction of scientific knowledge, but it's knowledge that is very deeply connected to the same roots that both Hayden and Joan were talking about, and María Gimbutas. How it connects to archaeomythology, it's a very simple. The first time I heard in one of these salons of the maternal gift economy movement, that I heard Joan about 3 years ago talking about archaeomythology as the name that María Gimbutas gave to the simple and complex idea that in order to understand our peoples of the past, we have to do it interdisciplinary. And considering that interdisciplinary, the mythology that sometimes supposedly clashes with the sciences and so on. And here we were doing this experience where we were automatically interdisciplinary when you let people bring their ancestral knowledge to the process, because ancestral knowledge is interdisciplinary by nature. And so this is the connection that we made and learned. And I'm going to try to show you one slide only, because I wasn't able to present the video before, so I'm not even going to try. How Lily, Heidi, Julian, Joan, myself, the Gift Economy Network, how we came together to create this delegation that participated and where you have listened to us talking about it. And I want to use one simple slide, if I can. So the reason why I want to use only this slide is because I want to talk to you about how we all met and what has, not only what has connected us, because there's so many things that we would have about 7 hours. I just want to highlight from this other 10 minutes that I have left, why is it that we have come to lived experience as maybe as a hypothesis, like I teach the kids to do, of an epistemological or episteme that can allow us to reconnect again and again and again, like women have, about all of who we are to face the moment today. This is the seminar that we organized last year in June between the Institute of Archaeomythology, iNMAR Caribe, which is the institute that I have created to develop further the citizenship science that we have done with Ambassadors of the Sea and the University of Costa Rica and all the others that participated in creating it. We decided to do that because in the process of one of the salon, no, it wasn't a salon, it was a Wednesday meeting of the gift economy. I met Joan talking about archaeomythology, and María Gimbutas, when she came back after having done her PhD dissertation, and I had read María Gimbutas, I had read probably Joan, but I didn't connect it at the time when I heard her. And when she talked about archaeomythology, the word immediately resounded, and so I interrupted. I remember Letty when I pushed the microphone on and said, what we do in Costa Rica is community archaeomythology. And Joan looked at me, with her very diplomatic, look. And so she said she wanted to hear more about it. I was very lucky because she could have also sent me to hell, but she didn't. And so that's what brought us together. And then when I told the word to Heidi and she read it for the convening of the seminar, she sent a word to me and she said, I saw the word, and that's the kind of seminar that I have been waiting for. Do you remember that, Hayden? And I called Joan and I said, hey, we have struck it with the Bribri. We have struck it with the indigenous women because even knowing the word, and God knows what their definition is, and you know what my definition is, and I know what your definition is, and all the definitions can fit into this because of the lived experience. And so we organized this seminar, and I'll tell you some of the intricacies about it that were very interesting. So every time, because this wasn't my first meeting with the Bribri and the Cabekar and the Nobe, which are also two other indigenous communities here in the territory of what we call the Southern Caribbean. But every time that we organized meetings with the Bribri and the Cabekar, they would ask us if they could build an altar. So I said to Joan, when we were designing the seminar, we have to let the indigenous women organize an altar because they do that every time. And I was always struck by the fact that the altars, well, first of all, let me tell you that maybe 15 or 20 years ago, when the first meeting that I had with the Bribri and they built an altar, I was in shock because, you would have to understand that I am a former nun. And I came out of the convent an atheist. This is like 55, 60 years ago. And I came out of the convent an atheist because I confused religion with spirituality and I threw the baby with the bucket because I did not want to have anything to do with religion, and altars to me were relating with religion. And so I was, okay, so we have to have an altar, wonderful. And I was in good shock when the Bribri and the Cabekar came for the altar that they do to their gods and the goddesses. And it was all flowers, and it was all bananas and coffee and chocolate. It was all things of nature. And I was in shock. And I never dared to ask until much later that I began to understand in other situations that the way that they honored their gods and their goddesses was honoring nature itself. It took me a long time because I came traumatized from the church, from the Catholic Church and from being a nun. And it was so important to me that I was hooked into the Bribri and the Cabekar since I came here as a fisherwoman, because they gave me the road to find my way back to a spirituality that didn't necessarily have anything to do with religion and with the God of the Catholic Church and being a nun and all of that. So this time we were organizing a seminar that was going to bring together the Bribri, the Cabecar, the Nobe, the Afros from the community, the mestizos, the mixed, every kind of mixture. And also Joan was coming with her daughter Sorrel, and also Vicky Nobel was coming with her goddesses. Everybody. So I said to the Bribri and to everybody, so if it's going to be, if we're going to do an altar, it's going to have to be an altar to all of the gods and the goddesses that we believe in, because it's going to be a seminar where we are going to honor all of our cultural roots. And it was and I'm sorry, I don't have the picture right now, but it is amazing. Joan, do you have it in your computer? No. The altar is amazing because the altar we let the altar grow by everybody bringing what they wanted to. And it is amazing. It has one half of it is earth and the other half is sand. So the mountain and the ocean and the coast community were right there just by the nature of what was in the bottom. We also brought water from the ocean and from the river up in the highland. And we also included the seeds and everything of the production of the mountain and the sea and the coastal community. And also people started bringing oars that the fisher people use and elements that have to do with the way that the kids have been doing the diving. And then Joan came with this electronic, what do you call them? Candles. And that was fantastic because electronics was there in such a nice way, because they were the candles that would not allow us to burn anything, but that were present. It was it's incredible. The altar was incredible, and it created the whole setup so much that people from the community started coming just to see the altar, even though they were not going to be in the event. And that was the setup that allowed us to be able to develop 4 days of really dialogue and sharing, and the ritual that the Bribri did with the drinking of the cacao, and going to the cacao farms, learning from the farmers how to do it ancestrally, and the youth talking about the citizenship science in the underwater archaeology, and the indigenous women, and then Vicky and Joan. It all came together so amazingly from such a different, and the commonality was there that I learned that the ancestrality was the connection. But then when we brought it to the presentation that we did, and I will end with this so that we have a hour of questions. But what Paula of the gift economy movement told us, and Peggy and many who listened to us present this in a salon, they said, you know, there's an epistemology behind that, and I wonder if you know what it is. And so I said to them, well, we know that, but we're looking for it. And I think we have found it in lived experience, because lived experience is not only about testimony, as I said, and the experiences that we have, but the ones that have really allowed us to transcend the role that has been assigned to us by patriarchy, capitalism, supremacism, and extractivism, that has allowed us to fly with the rest of the planet and humanity to be able to participate in looking for something better that we not only deserve, but that we owe to this planet. Thank you.
Thanks, María. I see that Lily was not able to join you, or Jillian. Are there other things that you wanted to share from both of their perspectives before we actually see if there's questions for you?
From Julian, maybe? From Julian, it's very important because Julian came to Costa Rica when when Joan was here, when Lily and Heidi and us had already got together about many of the activities that have emerged after the seminar. And she came looking to do a documentary about the matrilineality of the Bribri that she had been connected to in organizing the seminar. And I'm sorry. And so what happened is that she came and she asked us, she found about us through the citizenship science and the community archaeomythology. But she asked us if we could help her. And then she found out that Joan was here, and she knew Joan very well because she's part of the organizers of the Venlo meeting, and that's how we had begun to hear about it. And that same day she came, there was a Wednesday meeting of the Gift Economy Network, and we invited her to come, and everything started just coming together. And she is from East Berlin and now lives in, married and now lives in Holland. And she wanted to do a documentary where she wanted to interview Lily, Heidi, and us for a documentary about the matrilineality of the Bribri. And then we got engaged in being able to organize, to be able to go to the conference as a team. And she has been very much engaged in it in a way that is beyond any responsibility that she had. And she presented the documentary about the Bribri in the Venlo Congress. And it was very important because it allowed for people to be able to get to see the community and also to hear about the matrilineality from the perspective of a Bribri guy in the community. So she's coming back this month to bring the video here. And she is going to continue to be related to this because she studied here in Costa Rica about 30 years ago, and she's coming back now. So Julian was very critical in helping us to get there by organizing much of the logistics, and also has become part of our delegation. We also want to thank the gift economy movement, because not only did they bring, not only did we, because I'm part of it, did we bring the woman from Kurdistan, the Kurdish women, that we also connected with in a very strategic way, but also because the connection between the gift economy and the search that we're all doing about the matrilineality or matriarchality or whatever we want to call it, is critical because it allows to work at the level of the economy, which is something that have been lagging in the feminist movement. So thank you very much to everybody. I don't know if anybody else wants to say anything from our participants to go into questions and answers.
Yeah, Joan or Hayden, do you have anything else you'd like to say before I open up for questions? No? Okay. Let me check in with Jen. Jen, if you would unmute, is there anything that you would like to say before we start taking a couple of questions? We have probably about 20 minutes for questions.
I can ask a question. May I?
Yes, please. Of course.
Okay.
Start us off.
So I want to know if matrilinearity is connected to the epistemology of lived experience. That is, do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay. So
María or Joan, would you like to start? Which one of you?
I think
they're pointing at each other.
I think Hayden is, I saw that it turned green. Hayden, ¿tú quieres hablar de eso? Te lo traduzco.
Ajá, yo entendí que ella dijo que como si la matrilinealidad se conecta con...
Heidi, there's a problem with your
Malo
sound.
tu sonido.
Yeah.
¿Cómo se conecta la matrilinealidad con la economía con la economía del regalo?
No,
No, I'm
Con la
sorry.
con la epistemología de...
Con la epistemología de la experiencia vivida.
sí.
Sí.
Yo lo voy a responder en español. I answer but in Spanish because I think it's difficult to explain in English. And María, please translate. ¿Cómo se conecta la matrilinealidad con la epistemología? Es una pregunta muy profunda
A
porque
very deep question.
porque nos lleva no solamente, digamos, a pensar en los quehaceres diarios que nosotros hacemos cotidianamente.
Because it leads us to consider not only the tasks that women do at the quotidian daily life experience,
Sino que se relaciona también, así lo entiendo, con la espiritualidad, con esa conexión profunda que nosotros tenemos de nuestra forma de vivir.
but it also connects to the spirituality with that way that we have of living our life with the deepest connection.
Porque la matrilinealidad, yo lo dije anteriormente, no es solamente dar un plan, como plan, no, tiene un sentido profundo de conocimiento.
Because the matrilineality, as I said before, is not only about inheriting the clan, but it has a very deep levels of deep knowledge, and then she's going to name the others. Sigue.
¿Por qué?
Conocimiento.
Porque la matrilinealidad relacionado con la, con la pregunta que hizo la tiene que ver con el conocimiento de que los cantos, conocer la medicina natural, cómo se llaman, qué enfermedades curan, cómo vamos a transmitir nuestro conocimiento oral a nuestros hijos. La forma de cuidarnos en el embarazo y en la regla, en la menstruación, perdón.
Because the matrilineality has to do with the deepest knowledge about everything that has to do, and she named a few of the regeneration of life. It has to do with knowing the deepest way of caring also for our own pregnancies, ¿cómo se dice regla? How do you say regla?
Menstruation.
Menstruation, and the best plans to be able to do the healing and the caring and so on. Wow.
Por eso nosotros tenemos un dibujo que hice, lástima que no puedo hacer mi presentación, en círculo. Este viene siendo el úsure y para abajo es otro, como un rombo, porque aquí influyen muchas cosas. La matrilinealidad es el centro, pero se relaciona también con la tierra, con la naturaleza, con el agua, con la montaña. Por eso tiene nombre, para nosotros tiene espíritu y vida.
So that's why it's expressed in our usure, which is the Bribri house, which is the cone that is to the ground, and then it's the cone to the underworld. And the center of it is the matrilineality and the female, because it gathers everything, pulls everything together.
Wow.
Además de eso, para cerrar, quiero decir que nosotros sostenemos que los pueblos indígenas y las mujeres tenemos un conocimiento científico. No es simplemente que sabemos, no es algo muy científico, porque es también sistemático en el tiempo.
I also want to say that our knowledge that we have as indigenous women is a scientific knowledge because it has been carried through time and experience. It's And so it's science, scientific knowledge.
¿Puedo mostrar el dibujito?
No. Ponlo más cerca, ahí, más cerca, ahí, un poquito más alto. So that's the usure, which is the house.
Okay.
Y tiene muchos, el usure es esto hacia arriba y hacia adentro. Todas estas rayas tienen un significado y tiene un punto importante que se debe desarrollar a lo largo de nuestras vidas.
So each one of the lines that intersected are very important and each one has a meaning in our lives.
Entonces, para cerrar con la pregunta de la hermana, de la compañera, creo que sí tiene una relación profunda y lo interpreté, digamos, esa es la forma como yo lo entiendo y así se los expliqué, este oeste.
That's the way I explained to my sister who asked the question, Genevieve. And that this is why I think that there is a very profound relationship.
Thank
Joan?
you very much.
Yeah, I'd like to comment on the idea of lived experience and as being scientific, really, and that is that over time, you know, all of nature is. I mean, there are patterns to it, but there's a shifting and changing. It's not static. It's not like you have one idea about something and that's the only way it is and it never changes. You know, it's like I would imagine that in order to have a sustainable society, you have to constantly be aware of the shifting and changing that has to be done in order to be in balance. It's like when you're watching a candle burning. It's not just boom like this. It's doing this, right? It's always doing this. So that relationship with what is so, what is true, it's not a static trueness, but it is a living trueness. It's something that does. So in that way, I imagine that when you say it's science, because it has lasted over time, and so it's that whatever relationship you have with what you have found works for the whole society, for the whole community, to be in relationship to life, the flow of life, there has to be, you know, a responsiveness to it and a learning from it always what is working, because, you know, climate changes and things, you know, things come in, and how do you relate to perhaps what you haven't experienced before? You have to be able to respond in a way that is respectful to all of that, and to find the path that allows life to be continued. So that's my comment about that.
What I want to say about that from another angle, but the same thing, is that we learned about María Gimbutas from Ana Roba, who was our scholar, feminist activist, who died 5 years ago, who really was the historian of human's body. And she taught us, María Gimbutas, and she taught us a lot of the ways in which the spirituality of the goddesses was related to recognizing the way that the indigenous peoples have been able to hold on to historically, and many of us lost in the process, of the sacredness of all of life. And so we call it citizenship science, the lived experience, the way we have processed it. But it's really not citizenship only. I can understand why Heide is challenging and responding at the same time that the indigenous knowledge is science. And yes, and it shouldn't only be citizen. But when people challenge me about using the word citizenship, I say we're talking about the citizenship of the planet and all of life. We're not talking about any particular part of the species, the human species. And I really believe that the only thing I was able to say in the seminar, and I'll end with that, when I was crying and I couldn't talk, is that I really had learned by listening to everybody the day before, Genevieve, Haida, Joan, Heidi, all of the speakers, is that I really believe that we are the intelligentsia of the species, maternal and ¿cómo se dice? Gregario. Maternal and gregarious species that has lost its way in the planet. Women are the moral reserves of that intelligentsia, which is men and women, who have not given into this main historical recently framework of patriarchy, capitalism, supremacists, and extractivism that is, like Joan very well said, is killing not only us as a species, because the planet has a way of getting rid of species that kill its balance. They get rid of them, but we are also affecting all of life of the planet. So I think that there is a very deep relationship. Thank you, Genevieve, because we have been talking about it a little bit in the sense that we have new areas of development of the gift economy and of archaeomythology and citizenship science that have to come together. And that happened in the Venlo meeting between the matriarchal movement and the gift economy movement, and the way that we have brought it back to our countries and are also rethinking it. So I want to thank you again and thank you for this space to have been able to do this.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Joan?
Yeah. Well, I also want to thank you for this ongoing space that draws so many of us who have something to say here. I wanted to respond to Maria's use of the word intelligentsia, because so often the word is, you have this, it's so easy to have this sense of, something from on top, that here is the great learning and the great the intelligence and the nya, nya, nya. But Maria used intelligentsia as a way of acknowledging that the knowledge that came forth in her lineage came from the bottom up. It came from the farmers. It came from those people who were closest to the land and who understood that what was being taken away from them after living through a century of Tsarist rule in Russia was a treasure that they were coming to understand, not just to take it for granted, because they were losing it. It was being rapidly lost. And that they had to reposition themselves in such a way that they could save it and they could teach others about how important it was and risk their own lives, risk being imprisoned, risk being shot, risk being damaged so completely that they weren't able to function. So they realized that, okay, this Tsarist gendarme could kill us, and they have been, but if they kill us because we're doing everything we can to keep alive what is most precious to us, then so be it. We're not going to stop. And so that is the intelligentsia, that devotion, complete devotion to knowledge. But where does the knowledge come from? In that case, it came from the earth. It came from the language. It came from all that was preserved in the ancestral realm. All that was preserved from a long history that has come through, even before Lithuanian was written down. So anyway, I just wanted to say that about intelligentsia. So in the way that I think all of us have come together because we're part of that intelligentsia. We're part of an intelligentsia that recognizes that what has soul and meaning, what is most important, particularly in our time when so much of tremendous value is being destroyed, that we have to be the carriers of what we believe, what we feel within ourselves, and has enough importance that we're willing to, give everything for it. Because what else is there, If we're just thinking of ourselves, that's a pretty small package, So,
Thanks, Joan. Let me just ask a quick question, and then we'll have probably time for one question before we have to close. But María, could you say more about the documentary by Jillian on the about the Bribri? I'm particularly interested, I think, so that our community might be able to view it. Is it a possibility to view it online? If you could send us a link that we could put up so that women would be able to see that and then come to know Hayden and Lily's communities more deeply and better, and the work that you're doing. If you could do that for us, that would be so fabulous.
Thanks for asking, because I owe it to all of you who are listening, and especially the ones that are here today, but also to the Venlo conference participants. I'm making a video about each one, and also the one about the documentary and Julian that I will be sending to you. But the documentary we will have after Julian comes, because she has done something that is very profoundly fair. She did the documentary, she presented it at the Venlo conference, but she's not going to put it anywhere until she brings it to the Bribri territory, to the women that are in the video themselves. And that's
Wonderful.
fantastic. So you will have it as soon as she does that. She's coming in all of August. So you will have it. And I also promised all of you that I will send you the video that we were not able to put, because it just brings some of our going in Paris and the trains and us in the conference. And also one of Lily that I also did. And we will have of all of it, because I was telling Jen early this morning, that I'm going to start doing small videos the way I have done them for every salon, because about 7, Letty, you're going to be might be interested in this. About 7 women in the Venlo conference, Europeans that I didn't know, said to me that they had come to our salons and they wanted to know who made our videos about, I don't know if some of you were there, the one about Joan, the one about her daughter, the one about Vicky, the one about the Bribri, the one about Lily when she couldn't come last time either. And so I was telling Genevieve that what women remembered were also the videos. So those little video productions, we made them ourselves, that we are going to continue making them to be able to multiply these discussions that we have here. So thank you.
Thank you, María. Okay, let me check in with Liliana if there's one short question that maybe we could put up.
We have one question for Joan, and it's an anonymous attendee, and she says, Joan, you talked about connecting and strengthening our ancestral roots. Do you have ways of doing this?
Well, I would say that the ways of doing it are personal, of course, because there's the ancestral roots that are literally ancestral roots of our own lineage, our own biological lineage, but there's also the larger sense of the fact that we are all from the earth. We are all interconnected. We are all ancestral to the earth. And so I think that we all have to find our own way with that in many ways. And I think that we can gain inspiration from many people. I mean, I've found tremendous inspiration from Heidi and Lily, and from María, and from being with people working with and transmitting who they are in terms of their own amplification of ancestral roots, to awaken in me, well, what are my own ancestral roots, and what does that mean and the most personal as well as the larger view. So I would just say that start with yourself, start with what is it that you experience in yourself? What have you literally received from your mother, your grandmother, your grandfather, the stories that have been told with your own family, and then go from there. So it's a big question, and it's a complex answer, and I can only just give a little touch of it and then say, look into yourself and look beyond.
Thank you so much, Joan. I hate to bring us to a close, but we are 5 minutes from the top of the hour. Maria, did you want to say something before I actually close us out?
Yes, please. I have seen all of Heide's family passing by the door, and I'm saying saying goodbye to Pablito, and also her husband, who is amazing, and I would like her to introduce them. Pablito is amazing. He is a warrior for the best of life. He asked me to read the tarot for him about 2 months ago. Hola, Pablito. He can present himself. Is that okay for everybody?
We have
And I also have 3 people here in my house working with me, helping me cleaning it because I was sick before I left, and they came today. They thought I was still sick, but I want to at least acknowledge that they were here with me so that I could do this. Pablito.
I am lucky because there are my sister and my nephew, all my family. They from different community in our territory. So they decide to visit me.
Wonderful. Very glad. We're very glad to actually say hello to everyone. Unfortunately, we need to try to close this out because
Hola, hola.
Hola, hola. Hola, hola. Yes.
Hola, mucho gusto.
Dale,
Well,
Hola, hola.
so I want just to say a few 1 minute. So we are a multicultural, pluricultural, because there are indigenous people and non-indigenous people, and we have also related with the Afro-descendant people. My grandmother, my grandfather, and I really feel very lucky for that because we are a strength culture. I want to say all of you. So thank you very much for giving me and this opportunity to sharing, to show you a bit my culture and how we live in our territory.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hayden. It's been really wonderful, Maria, Joan, and Hayden. We're sorry that Lily and Julian were not able to be with us. I honestly believe that we could spend days just, even on Zoom, getting up, having a meal, bringing it to the screen, having a glass of wine together or our favorite beverage, and discover so many incredible things that we share in common and the unique differences that make life exciting and wonderful and creative. So I just want to thank you for bringing yourselves, your life experiences to us. I want to thank Liliana and Judith for being vigilant. I know that it's anxiety provoking, knowing that at the end you have to rush in and try to find the things. We didn't have a lot of time for your questions, but we really appreciate you attending to us all the time. Lisa and Diane, we know that you're back there behind the scenes and supporting us to ensure. And I just had to laugh a little bit because today is Mercury retrograde. So technology didn't work for those of you who are so inclined. You were just proving the fact that, hey, sometimes during this Mercury retrograde, you know, technical things and computers and communications actually just go a little bit awry. And with grace, we just received it and moved on. And what we weren't able to show on the screen, we will, by the grace and gratitude for Maria. And possibly Hayden, if she wants to put up her PowerPoint, we'll be able to put it up with the recording so that we will be able to actually see it and enjoy that. I just want to say that we come to the close of the first half of the year for our salons. This is actually our last event that we're producing. We're taking a break. We will be back in September, on September 6th, for salon number 83 with Heidi Gutner-Abendroth, who's going to be talking about matriarchy now. So I just wanted to dangle that so that you keep in mind. We'll be gone for the summer. However, in 2 weeks, there Genevieve is going to be on a special panel, which is why we took a little short. We actually lengthened our summer break with our salons to be able to allow for this event that Jen's going to be on. Please note the time is different, which means it's quite early on the East Coast. For us here in Central Time, it will be 9:30. Eastern Time is 10:30. Jen, is there anything you would like to say about this? You could read these very acclaimed names who are here on the panel. And we're grateful that Jen is getting herself out in the world, bringing the maternal gift economy. You see the title, The Future of Humanity, Real World Options. And there's Jen with the maternal gift economy.
If I could just say it's in 1 week, not 2 weeks.
Oh, it's in 1 week.
1 week.
Oh, a week from today, the 26th, Saturday, the 26th. That's correct. All right, Jen, is there anything you want to say?
Well, I will read the names. Radhika Desai is a wonderful Indian woman from India, economist and Marxist and very smart and very accurate on whatever's going on. Guy McPherson is professor who has studied the environment and has well, I won't say prophesied, but has estimated that we have very little time left. And so he's going to talk about that. Michael Bowens is the man that started the peer-to-peer movement in on the internet, and it's a very well-known person. Let's see, Fadel Kaboub is an Indian gentleman. I'm not quite sure what his specialty is. Then there's me, and then there is Ruth Nyambura, who I listened to the other day on a YouTube thing, and she is just fabulous. She's an African woman from Kenya and an eco-feminist, and she's just I want to keep on listening to all the things that I can that she says. So, and then Rajnikanth is my friend who has been organizing these meetings. So it's going to be very interesting, and please people come because I think it'll be enlightening. We're trying to address the terrible things that are going on now and the possible alternatives and ways of surviving that the humanity and the nature and everything can be saved and survive. So there we are. So
May I ask, where can we see this posted? Because I was trying to write down the, all of the various script that
We'll
comes with
send it
how you
out.
register and,
The registration link is in the chat right now.
okay. And
And
where
we'll
else,
send it.
where else would it be? Will it be available?
Online.
It'll
We'll
go
put it
out to
on
the
maternal-
positive gift economy list for anyone who wants to register.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we'll put it on our maternal gift economy movement
Page.
site also.
Good. Great, thank you.
You're muted, Letitia.
Thank you so much, Maria, Joan, and Hayden, for bringing these wonderful life experiences to us. And for all of you who are viewing now and in the future, we'll see you in September. Take really good care, everyone. Work for world peace, please. Bye for now.
Thank
Bye.
you.